So today we're just going to talk about...
What, did you start? Outtakes.
So welcome to our first episode of the No Name Podcast. And why do you say No Name Podcast? Because we have no name, which is fine because we're so used to starting things. Everything doesn't always be perfect. So, but however, I am here with the perfect person, my co-founder and chief strategy officer here at Communities First, Essence Wilson. So, Essence, thank you for joining me and joining
Listen,
us all today.
I've been joined with you for quite some time in this work. So it's a pleasure. So you said the No Name Podcast. That just reminds me of, I think it was Seinfeld, that the show they talked about it being the show about nothing. And so this is the show about something.
With
We just
no
don't
name.
know exactly what.
Yeah, we just don't know what. Because I think what happens is sometimes, as we know, people get caught up in not having all the details figured out. And because they don't have all the details figured out, they get to a place where it's just like, oh, I'm not going to start. I'm not going to do that because I don't have no names. I don't have no colors. I don't have all the details worked out. And that really gets me down to like communities first and like how we started it. Because communities first did not have a name when we first started. We were out here just doing the work, and we were like, oh my God, what are we going to call this organization? And we had no clue.
I remember being in the car. We're driving down the street with one of our colleagues and trying to figure it out. And we were just talking about the organization that we were starting. And you said something about, we just really want to keep the community first and do this. And we all just kind of stopped and had this moment and said, wait, that's it. That's the name.
I was like, what? It was like, say that again. I was like, say what? All I said is we want to keep the community first.
Yeah. And we decided really early on.
I was so brilliant and didn't even know it, to come up with this fabulous name.
We decided really early on that it wasn't going to be community first, though, because there was going to be expansion in the future. So we should be communities first.
Right. Because we represent a whole demographic of different people, different communities. And like you said, we always had organization to think of expansive rather than singular. We thought for a plural. Absolutely.
So right now, the podcast has no name. The name might be the No Name Podcast, but maybe there's an opportunity for somebody else to come up with an idea or to share a thought on what we should call our podcast as we talk about the work that this organization has done, work that's happening in communities, and what we plan to do in the future. So I don't know. Are you open to other ideas?
I mean, I'm open to other ideas. I mean, as today, I was not totally prepared for this. So, I mean, but the thing is, it's not about, most people don't even know that you're not even prepared for certain things.
Well, like we now know that you weren't prepared.
Exactly. That was the whole point.
Told on yourself.
But that's the reason why I told that, because it gets back to communities first again. It's like, I don't even know if I was 100%, which I don't believe so, 100% prepared to even start the organization. Like, I didn't know everything. I didn't know what I didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know. All we knew was that it had a vision that we were given, and was like, hey, let's go see if we can figure this out on the way. And so I don't want people to ever be discouraged about if they're trying to start something or they're trying to do something different, because everything and every detail, and they don't feel prepared to do it. So, like, I don't even have my fresh cut today. You know what I mean? I'm usually, fresh to death, but, I had something happen on Saturday that caused me that I couldn't get my lineup, So,
well, let's be honest. So the thing that happened on Saturday was responding to a CFI emergency. We put the emergency of the organization, and everything was fine.
Yeah, above my haircut that I was getting on Saturday, and I could not get that. I feel so incomplete. I feel so incomplete. You know what I mean? I'm not crispy. This is not my public persona that I want to put on for the public community.
So let's talk about like how we got started and like what the early days were like. We're now almost 15 years, or we'll be 15 years in 2025 into this work. What do you remember from the early days?
Oh, what do I remember? Is how many people told us that they don't understand why we're doing this. Yeah, I remember that. And I remember talking to you about it when I was like, hey, I'm going to leave career and go start this nonprofit while we were talking. And you're like, oh yeah, and I remember that. So that's always a funny story to tell. But for us, I mean, our faith is important to us, even though the organization is not a faith-based organization. We're people that believe in faith. And, for me, I would say I remember just when God really just put it on my heart and I just had, different visions, because I always thought, hey, I'm going to go to the NFL and play ball, make buku dollars, millions of dollars, and come back and rebuild the city of Flint in the hometown where I was from. Because I used to always say, why don't people always come back home? They go make all this money, but they don't come back home and rebuild. Um, but this was an opportunity where saw that there were some unique opportunities to do some things a little bit differently, and was like, okay, we can do something. And so, I mean, as we drove around the community, and as we saw things and how it happened and what wasn't happening, it was very important to try to figure out what we can do to help solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's what I can remember is, is not only just people said it was impossible, but at first we didn't even want to start the organization. It was like, is there anybody out here that's doing it? Like, is there anybody that's doing the work that we see that there's a huge need in the community? And the more we talk to people, the more we realize there was nobody else that just like wanted to step up and do it. Even when we were just trying to even offer, like, oh, can we offer financially to help? Can we put in some sweat equity? Like, people just weren't receptive.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I remember. I remember drafting of the 501c documentation on a laptop that was literally on my lap because I don't know if the room we were working in had a table. So, just trying to figure it out. And um, there's something about when you don't know how hard something is supposed to be that causes you just to do it and do it the best that you can and hope for the best, right? And I think we just did a lot of things, especially in those early days, as acts of faith and just believing that, if we made steps in the right direction, it would all kind of work out. Our first office was really, really tiny. I would say probably what I don't think you
eight
could.
by maybe 8 by 8,
I'm
8 by
wondering if it
6.
was even that big because if you laid down, your feet probably would have touched
Oh
each
yeah,
other.
my head and feet. Probably about 8 by 6. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Very, very tiny office. And at one time there were 4 people in the office at the same time.
I remember that because because it was a desk that was built into the wall.
Yeah, so that took up like
That
18
that
inches.
took up a whole bunch of the space, and then we had a real little bitty table, it was just a little bit bigger than this, with like a little top on it with 2 chairs. And then we had brought in a third chair, so I had 3 chairs, and so yeah, that was
And
4
then somebody was
people.
standing up, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and then what would happen is that place that we ended up using a small room that they had there because nobody used it, and we used to be like, oh, people come
Yeah.
over, we'll just
That's
confiscate this as our conference room.
It worked out.
It worked out.
Nobody complained.
Nobody complained because nobody used that room anyway. We were like the only person on that floor, so that
Yeah.
was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, our work really started with affordable housing. We had done our first development, which was Oak Street Senior Apartments, where we turned the school building into housing for low income seniors. And then it just seems like our growth has been in direct response to community needs.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we learned about something else or something different that was a gap, we went back to what we did originally.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there somebody else that could be doing this? And if there was that gap, we became gap fillers.
Yeah,
Is that the name of the podcast? Gap fillers?
I don't know.
No, I didn't have. I thought.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say no. I mean, that's not a bad name.
It's not bad.
It can go different ways. So I just
Well, that's how the first name came about, right? Like for Communities First, it was in conversation. And
just
there was
conversational, and then
that might not have been a moment.
yes,
That's okay.
maybe I can be what it's called, the moment. See, this is how we work. We just kind of go back and forth.
And at some point we figure it out.
At some point it come together, but there's no need of it letting it stop you. But it's funny how you just slid right over, just like, oh, we just opened up Oak Street Senior Apartments, and I know
Okay,
people.
well, tell the story. Tell the story.
No.
I know it like right now. It just seems like it was
It's so long ago.
but it really was a impactful and instrumental project that we did. So, can you share a little bit about what
I
happened?
don't know if I have that much time. I mean, how much time do we have?
Well, give you approximately
I
three
don't
and a
even
half
know if we
minutes.
have our timer up. Do we have a timer?
You get 3.5
Yeah.
minutes. So
In short, keep it short, Glenn. So I have to remind myself of that. But we had Oak Street Senior Primary when we first was starting out to look at what we could do. We were actually looking at a whole nother different school. I don't know if you remember that, but we were looking at a whole nother different school in the city of Flint because that's what I was seeing. Was like, hey, we need to just take one of these school buildings, redo one of them. And we went over that school building and we put plans together. We had a neighborhood plan. We were meeting with people, and like nobody was paying attention. I mean, they were paying attention, but they were just like, "Oh, okay, good luck. You know, you can do that." And I'm shortening this story and taking so much out of it, but I remember that day we were sitting down with Doug Weiland. You know, God rest his soul, he passed away just not too long ago. But Doug Weiland was the executive director of the Genesee County Land Bank. And I remember we sitting down with him telling us, we were telling him the vision. And I was like, oh, yeah, see, Civic Park School at that time was like the school. And I was like, I'm going to do this whole neighborhood plan around the school. And he was just asking me all these questions. And I was like, why is he asking me all these questions? And then something just sparked to me, and I said, "Hey, Doug, why are you asking me all these questions?" I just asked him. I said, like, do you have an idea? Like, you have a thought? Because like nobody had ever asked us that many questions, and was interested in what we were talking about. And I said, "Is it a school?" I was like, "Is it the school land bank?" Oh, he's like, "Yeah, we own Oak School," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "So, mm, do you guys want to do something with it?" And he said, "Oh, well, I got." Possibly some NSP dollars I can put towards it. I know people really want to see something get done with it. Uh, and I said, well, basically, he was like, would you consider changing, like, or even thinking about it? And I said, you know what? Let me think about that. But, why not? Because we didn't have everything figured out at that point and we just pivot.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that happened strategically at that moment. And like when you're talking about things change, I mean, there's so much more that happened with this story, but
Yeah. And I think that's a good place to stop though with the story because there'll be time to tell the rest of the story, right? But the important thing that I see from what you just said is the ability to pivot, right? So we started out, we had no name, right? And we were just in conversation about the thing that we were passionate about.
Right.
And as a result of that passion, we ended up with a name. Then we started on a path, we're working on Oak School, and you were able to listen and discern and understand that there was another opportunity that was present in that moment. And if we had continued on the same path, there is absolutely no way in my estimation that that project would have come to fruition just because everything was kind of stacked against it, but there was already support for Oak School and we just didn't know it, so we were able to pivot. So I think that ability to pivot has really benefited the organization over the long haul.
Yeah, and when you think about that, about pivoting, is how many times do like just us as individuals in life, it's like we think one thing is going to be one way, right? And then we have this idea of like everything should be perfect and in this alignment, and then it doesn't give us an ability to pivot, right? And we just stick there, and we stick there, and there'll be opportunities and mounds of opportunity right in front of us, but because of how we want it to look, we'll just be like, oh no, I'm sticking with this, right? So I don't know, who needs to hear that or like whoever's watching this podcast, even just with the no name, but there's going to be times, and as we know, and this happens over and over again, where we think things are going to be a particular way. And we do just have to pivot and make those different steps and just be open to what's happening at the moment, because those are sometimes the greatest things. Is like when people talk about where preparation and opportunity meet, that's when like greatness happens. That's because you're being prepared. I mean, you're in a place of preparation, and then the opportunity eventually meet up, and that's what was happening to us. It's like we were preparing everything to redo a school building. It just wasn't that particular school building. It ended up being another school building. So we didn't throw everything out. We just reshaped it and pivoted to do something else. And that, like you say, it's a beautiful story with that. But now it's
we started with that affordable housing development, and our mission statement encompasses a lot, right? We're building healthy, vibrant communities through affordable housing, economic.
Yeah, I think you messed it up
I
on
did.
camera.
You know what?
It's
I
fine.
did. That's why I have it written down. So, to build healthy, vibrant communities through economic development, affordable housing, and innovative programming.
programming.
It was too much pressure, people.
And too
It's
much pressure.
pressure. But that mission
I
has
thought you
expanded.
thrive under pressure.
Oh, I do. But that's why I also have notes to help me. So we're gonna scratch that first version of the mission statement that I gave. Because it's so funny. My mind almost always goes back to our first mission statement that we had. And it's always been hard for me to get that out of my head. Just because like that was the first um statement that we had that really gave us direction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So okay, we revised it a lot of years ago.
What's the original mission statement?
The mission of Communities First is to promote
Healthy.
to promote and provide
Oh, improve quality of life
for residents
residents
of distressed
stress communities
communities
through
through
affordable
affordable
housing,
housing and
economic
economic
development
development. Yep.
solutions. I
So
think.
I know that it's in there,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes it gets all jumbled up. But we have this expanded mission now, and we do a lot of things. Some people know us for our real estate development work. Some know us for programs. I'm just really curious. What's one of your very favorite programs or activities or events that Communities First has done?
Events just we've done in general.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we've done a lot. I mean, we went curling, we went to basketball games.
So tell me about curling.
Oh
That's a
man,
good one.
yeah, I found out that my legs didn't curl that far. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be flexible
Yeah.
to do curling. And
It's
I
like
remember getting out there. It's
if people don't know, you have to do a deep lunge to
yeah,
do
yeah, it's
curling
like the
properly.
deepest lunge ever, and then you have to stay there and
Yes.
hold it, and then let it go.
Mhm.
It's that takes a special person, and
Yeah.
but that was hilarious watching how many people thought they could do the lunging and just slide right into a fall.
Yeah.
It'd be so graceful, but it was hilarious. So
So
I mean, so that one, but I mean,
I
I
was gonna
still
say, let
love.
me tell you about curling now. So my mistake was I had our first daughter and she was maybe 4 or 6 weeks old and she went. And, here I am having this proud mom moment and not realizing that giving birth to a child destroys your abs. And so I went down for the lunge and I didn't come back up. So somewhere there is video of this. So we have
It might be
proud
on my
moments.
phone,
It
maybe. I
might
need to
be.
check that.
There are
Yeah.
proud moments, there are embarrassing moments. But that curling activity was part of our Culture Shock program where we expose community members to, new and unique experiences just to get them to expand their way of thinking and their mindset. So we've done curling. There's a video of you skiing
Yep.
where you kind of tumble down
No, I
the
was
hill.
no, I wasn't tumbling.
What was that? What would you
That
call
was
it?
that was called a display of my jumping acrobatic abilities.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, if
Yeah.
America's Funniest Home Videos is looking for a winner, we've got a couple of winners.
I'm just saying, I stuck the landing.
You did. You did. You were down. But we love to do those kinds of experiences.
I'm here to tell about it.
You are. I'm
It's
so glad that you're safe.
it's amazing when you have such strong things that happen to you, the traumatic,
Mhm.
and and you get up. It's about giving. It's not about falling down. It's
Mm.
about getting up.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I will say if you don't fall, then you don't have to get back up. So
You
I
know,
don't know. We can dig into
tomato,
that some
tomato.
we can dig into
You
that
know,
some other time. So thinking about Communities First moving forward,
I think
give us a sneak peek. It's just one thing maybe in the next 5 to 10 years that you could see this organization doing.
I said that 5 years ago,
Mm.
and I would laugh at where I thought we would be and where we're at now. Because, I mean, I didn't expect us to be where we're at now. So I'm actually being very careful with what I say because, I mean, I've had calls within the last couple of weeks that blow my mind about the way that things can change.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, I am open and willing and ready to pivot as the organization and as the needs continue to happen and grow, to make sure that we're best utilizing our resources to impact the lives of people every day.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, I don't see us s- stopping our growth. There's so many opportunities and there's so much need that exists. So I'm just really looking forward to continuing to meet those community needs. And I don't at this moment like have a specific in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, just because we've seen those plans, weave
Yeah, and
themselves into what we
right,
have
and
today.
not saying that we don't have a plan. Like some people think like, oh, you have no plan for growth.
It's
It's
not
like
like the no name. We do
yes,
have some
yeah.
plans.
We do have some plans, but the thing is, what I'm saying is that we're open to the evolution of
Mhm,
how communities first will grow to really, like I said earlier, to meet the impacts of people that we serve. I think what happens is sometimes we put it like we talk about, we have these things. It's like, yeah, okay, hopefully we're able to build thousands of units. Hopefully we're able to, you know, impact, hundreds of thousands of people,
mhm,
with our work over the next 5 years. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make those things quantitative, but I think it's the intangibles, which
mhm,
is like these moves that you make, which is like pivoting, things that you didn't expect and being open to those. And so I think what I've learned now is to be open to what organically,
mhm,
right, can happen. And not saying you don't push on the things and the plans, but being open to the organic growth and the organic opportunities that happen. When you're effective and you do things the right way, you don't take shortcuts. Um, you have high integrity, and you have a good team of people. I mean, sometimes you can end up limiting your team's ability to do great things because um, just because of the fact that you've limited them,
yeah,
right?
you
So it's
overplan.
yeah, and you've undervalued. So I think the thing is push and get as much as we can, um, out of our team, uh, because they push us each and every day as well.
Yeah, so I think as we conclude, this first podcast of
What
the
conclude
no name
the no
podcast.
name, the no name.
So I want you to kind of just wrap things up with some words of encouragement, as there are lots of people with lots of ideas, right? And they have to know how to move when all of the moves aren't clearly defined, clearly outlined, and also how to pivot when the circumstances change. But my call to action before that is just help us with the name, right? Let us know if you like the no name podcast, because it gives us opportunities to have creative liberty as we think about what we might want to talk about, or if you have a better name for what Communities First should be sharing, or
Oh, maybe that's what we call
should
it.
be talking about.
No name, quote, or better name. I don't know.
All right, so here's your moment to be profound.
Yeah, that didn't
What
work.
are
You
your
know, it,
words
it
of
looked good. It
encouragement?
was starting to look good. Then when I put
Yeah.
it together,
Okay.
they say once you say something out loud,
Mhm.
then
You
you can keep
realize
it in your head all you want, but you say it out loud, you be like, man, that
that
didn't
wasn't
sound so
that
good.
wasn't it.
That wasn't it.
All right, but words of encouragement for those who have an idea
Why
and
you
all of the
you
pieces of
trying
the
to wrap me
puzzle.
up like a reel? Look,
I'm
listen,
helping.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm
So the pieces
closing,
of the
as the preacher would say.
so
So that means I got three.
mm,
That means I got three opportunities to close in the midst of one closing.
so at this time you're not operating as the preacher, and so you get one closing
I've already had
today.
one close, so this is my second
It
one.
is your second
Yeah, it's
closing.
my second closing.
Mm-mm.
Yes,
Okay, the last closing.
I got one more closing. So I mean, no, I mean, all I can say is today. I mean, we literally came into the office today. I think we both forgot we had the podcast today because we've had a lot going on. We've been traveling, things have been happening in family. But we've, had our great team that's here at Communities First that made sure everything is prepared for us to do as much as possible. But the thing is, the reason why I'm saying that we needed to get started
Mm.
is like we knew we have so much information and so much on the inside of us uh, that we need to just get out
Mm.
because I think it's just been harboring for so long that it just hasn't been able to uh, be put in the proper format
Mhm.
in order for people to really truly know what the heart of the organization, the heart of you, heart of myself. And so, I mean, my encouraging word is like, don't let perfection become the enemy of progress.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is because sometimes we want things to be so perfect that we make no progress whatsoever. And it just causes us to be stagnant. It causes us to have unnecessary anxiety. It just puts us in a place of complacency.
Mm.
And I would say just get out and do something, whatever it might do. And guess what? You might fail, You might not have everything perfect. Like, I had my haircut today, didn't have all my notes prepared like I was supposed to have my notes prepared. And the reason why I'm telling this is because people sometimes think with people like us, like, oh man, they come to everything 100% prepared. They don't have problems. They don't have struggles. No, I think what it is just we've just learned to pivot, and we've learned to say, we're going to take it as it comes, and we're going to do the best with what we have. We're going to do the best what we can with what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that again. Do the best with, we're going to do the best. How it says, we're going to do the best
That we can.
with what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I can encourage people with today. So pivot, don't worry about the name, and do the best
That you
with
can.
that you can with what you have. Thank you.